representing a group, you get 5. Mr. Parr will be our timekeeper. When you have 30 seconds left, you will see this sign. When your time has run out, you will see this sign and you will promptly stop. We want you to stay respectful. We would prefer you not keep repeating yourselves over and over again. Please state your name and your address before you start speaking into the microphone.
And so public comments.
Yeah, we have.
Hearing.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
We do have public comments first, so that's just general. You want to address us on not a specific topic we're talking about today, and then we will open up public hearing for each of these things. All the same rules. All right. So, interesting. Public comment. We have Karen Ducott. Yes, come on up.
Hi. Should I speak it? Okay. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hi, I'm Karen Ducott. I reside full-time here at 894 Walker's Mountain Road, Arrington, Virginia. I am extremely concerned about the influx of people who don't live here, who will be using land very close to our homes and our communities, and the recklessness and the negative repercussions that may result. Just because there are rules and there are laws, that doesn't necessarily mean that they will be followed, complied with, and or abided by. This proposed campground will be detrimental to our ecosystem and to all of the residents who live here. Noise pollution, air pollution, water pollution, light pollution, increased traffic, garbage and litter disposal, unsanitary bathhouses and campsites, liquor, drugs, unlawful fires, pets that will be defecating, barking, loose, dog bites, loud parties that may go late into the night, fights, violence, squatters, security, theft, burglaries, stress to our wildlife population, just to name a few, and the ongoing issues that will use up our Nelson County resources and our tax dollars for our fire, our rescue, our EMTs, our wonderful police officers who will be called upon for unlawful and dangerous situations and continual ongoing problems that may take the attention away and will deplete resources from the tax-paying residents who reside here. To me, there's no happy positive to this idea. Exclamation point. I'm truly concerned that this campground will not bode well for our beautiful communities and our beautiful quality of life here. It's damaging and it's sad. I'm against this permit and I hope you will agree. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And your consideration.
Can you let them know that those are comments for the public hearing, not for public comments? Okay.
So you've, just to clarify, these were for public comments, and that seemed more of a public hearing situation to be focused more on that.
The campground
Yeah.
proposal.
Yeah. So no, it's okay. As I call your name, if you want me to put you on the other list, you just let me know. All right. Heather, and I said it. Deco. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Paul Davis.
Paul Davis, 2514 Rockfish Valley Highway, Nelly's Ford. Mine's not on these specific special uses, special use permits in general.
Okay.
So tonight, there are several special use permits being applied for. I just want to remind each of you, prior to your vote, to really think about each one of these. Each yes vote will and can change each location forever. Remember, by state code, an approved special use permit stays with the property, not the current owner. That way it changes the landscape forever. As I've mentioned before at these meetings on special use permits in this county, currently, to my knowledge, those that have been approved in the past are difficult to research on the county website. So trying to see if a current owners are in compliance is difficult. One has to look back at each supervisor's meeting to read each mention of said property and what those stipulations are. Why not have it listed on a simple website under the county page? Also, it should be listed as to how to enforce possible violations and who to call. Like I said at one board meeting, I know Mr. Reed was here because I looked right at him when I said it, because he's my representative. I said, who do you call if there's a violation? You? Because the citizens don't know. I don't know. Then if violations are found or a citizen perceives a violation has taken place, who enforces it? Who does the citizen even contact? There's nothing on the webpage that I'm familiar with that stipulates or says what to do. These questions remain, and yet more special use permits are continuously applied for and brought before the board for votes. Maybe citizens would be more in agreement if they knew that the rules that are voted on are being adhered to. Thank you.
Jeremy Hester. Okay. Campground as well. Justin Shimp.
Good evening, Mr. Board. I'm here for other business tonight. I want to speak as a taxpayer of the county about the budget upcoming. Unfortunately, I could not make the meeting Thursday, but it has been before the board and you'll be discussing and voting on it probably Thursday. But I noticed in that there's about a $3.5 million increase. Of that, the big number tossed around is 17%, which is the real estate tax increase. The county budget itself is not going up 17%. So on Facebook would say, oh, it's the county administrator is spending 17% more. No, I think it's maybe 5 or 6% more. As someone who runs a business, I was told recently I'm only getting a 5% health insurance increase. I was like, wow, that's terrific. These expenses are going to continue to occur. And what concerns me when I look at the revenue lines, the budget, is that the only place it really changed, as I saw it, was in the property tax. And 17% is a pretty big hike. But what if that happens next year, and the year after that, and the year after that? 17% compounded 4 years in a row is something like a 83% increase. It would put our taxes at close to 90 cents on the dollar if you continued that for 4 more years. And so what I asked the board, and I don't want us to, we need to take care of the people who work for us. We need to cover their expenses. We need to take care of everybody. But there has to be a view for alternative sources of income for the county, because we have a real risk, I think, of our assessments just hit, I believe, at the peak of the market. And so you have a real risk of the next time assessments come up, expenses have gone up, let's say 5% year over year, no other sources of revenue. And let's say someone whose house used to be worth $1 million, they went down in value, right? But this person who's got a $300,000 house went up, let's say 10%. Well, the person with $1 million house is going to pay less tax because their assessment goes down. The person with the less expensive is going to pay more. So you have a tax going the wrong direction, where the folks who can't afford it the most pay the most. And that's very concerning to me as someone who's interested in seeing people live and have families here in the community. So I just encourage the board to think, it's not going to solve between tomorrow and today or Thursday, but to think about the next 4-year cycle and how we generate new sources of revenue to offset the burden on those of us who live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Wanda Priestley.
Wanda
Presley.
I'm here to speak in regards to the camp
Okay.
situation on Morris Lane.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, that's going to end our public comment portion of the meeting. Now we have public hearings. Our first public hearing is special use permit 250358, Conference Center in A1 Agricultural District.
Good evening, board. So this is a request for a special use permit for a new conference facility, conference center facility at the Monroe Institute. The property was founded in 1971, which was prior to the adoption of the zoning ordinance. It's therefore considered a legal non-conforming use currently. Any expansion of a non-conforming use requires compliance with our current zoning ordinance. The Institute is proposing to expand its operations and develop a conference center proposed to include residential quarters, offices, a cafeteria, common services area, gift shop, meeting rooms, a studio, and storage space. The expansion would accommodate 90 total guests. At their meeting on October 22nd, the Planning Commission held a public hearing for special use permit 250-260, at which several community members spoke. Concerns were raised regarding the proposal's compatibility with the existing community and potential impacts from expanded operations such as increased traffic. Other concerns included ensuring an adequate water supply and impacts to existing wells in the area. Following this public hearing, the applicant withdrew their original special use permit application with intent to resubmit a revised proposal for a different location, as you can see here. The parcel is outlined in red in the center of your screen here. Originally, the proposal was for this lot over here. A substantially similar application was submitted to relocate the facility. Staff advertised for a new public hearing. At their meeting on February 25th, the Planning Commission voted 3-1 to recommend approval of special use permit 250-358 with the conditions you see on the screen here. What you see in orange are amendments that have been made to the Planning Commission's recommendation. For clarity, under number 2, regarding site lighting to be directional and glare shielded, mounted at no taller than 15 feet. Number 7, we updated the language to clarify that any uses on the property shall be associated with the primary purpose. Weddings, festivals, and concerts are not permitted. And then 8 was an additional condition submitted by the applicant. The existing tree line between 34A31 and 341212 is to remain. In addition, a minimum 3-foot tall berm with new evergreen plantings at least 5 feet height at installation shall be added between the new parking area and the property line. And you can see that here in green. The applicant is here tonight and has a presentation for you. As always, your special use permit criteria shall not tend to change the character and established pattern of development, shall be in harmony with uses permitted by right in the zoning district and not affect adversely use of neighboring property, adequately served by essential public or private services, and shall not result in destruction, loss, or damage of any feature of significant ecological, scenic, or historic importance. If you have no questions for me at this point, I'll have the applicant come up.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Justin Shin, Shin Engineering, a resident of Afton, Virginia. I'm here representing the Monroe Institute. Alan, over here, Alan Evans is the director. Kevin Schaefer is our architect to join us, and Nick Evans is the geologist who's helped us this project. In case you have any questions for them, they are here. This project is one I'm very, very pleased to be a part of. Monroe has been, I think, a kind of institute of Nelson for a long time, and it's the kind of business I think that we need to encourage here. You'll see the site layout was going over by Dylan. The proposed site is on 3412-2. Any new structure as part of this is limited to that particular parcel. The parcels in pink are all part of the application, but because the drain fields or other accessory items will be on that, not any part of the new facility. It's limited only to parcel 2 there, 3412-2. We are seeking to build a conference center, which is the proposed building is around 33,000 square foot footprint. Monroe has experienced a lot of growth recently. As of February, They were sold out of their programs the entire year, turning people away, unable to grow their business. There are 3 wings proposed. You can see the diagram here. There'll be classrooms, there is lodging space, 60 residential quarters in this building added to the existing they have, which gives a 90 total capacity for the project. As was noted, the conference center that exists there was before the ordinance regulated these sort of things, so it's non-conforming. Any new facility has to meet the requirements. The special use permit process enables the conditions that have been placed on this to protect from impacts to adjoining properties, which I'll go over those also. We've made a couple of renderings here that you can look at that will give you an idea of the approach. And so this is headed up Roberts Mountain Road, just as you pass the first white house on the right that Monroe also owns. On the left in the trees there is the edge of the building. It's well above the road at this point. We're going to leave the trees, and we have put in our plan that we'll plant additional trees on this corridor to eliminate views as you approach. And you can see here, there's an example of that. As you're now approaching the top of the hill, you turn left into what's the current large field there now, and the site would be on your left. Again, those are proposed plantings that would be there to add to existing landscaping in that zone. You then turn into the facility, you'll see you have a 1-story building on the uphill side. It's 2 stories in the back, basically use the grade as a basement. The building is about 28 feet tall at its tallest peak, which is the middle peaks you see there on this rendering. The key things to note, for one, the planning director, who is your expert reviewing the comprehensive plan, recommended approval of this project based on the analysis of the comprehensive plan. Planning Commission also voted 3-1 to recommend approval of this facility, finding that the conditions that were discussed earlier are met for this. And I think most notably is that the Monroe Institute has been here since the early 70s. In fact, originally owned all of what is a new land subdivision, and that was created around it. So the Monroe itself was there prior to the development around it. So it is the fabric of the neighborhood. As noted, it's essential for the county to find new tax base. This particular project is a $25 million investment. If you look at the real estate taxes based on that, it's $140,000. The lodging tax applied to this project at full capacity would be $200,000 in lodging taxes paid per year. The parcel also is only visible from one residence, which is the parcel to the north, where the sign says Nancy Penn and proposed site. That property, the Hicks residence, is the only one you can see the building from around. We did a balloon test there. The building is visible, the roof of it is, from that parcel. We then added on the requirements for additional screening and reducing the height of the light poles to make sure those would not be visible from the house. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to skip a lot of this criteria. We'll go back to these things specifically, if the board wishes to. But a map for your reference here about the original boundaries of the property of Monroe. And so you'll see that of that area, before there was any development, Monroe was sort of the anchor to that. This is the only property they own. They do have a global outreach, but they are based in Nelson County, started here, and they want to expand their business here and continue to be here. Traffic was a discussion about this, and that's understandable to bring that up. But this is an interesting use in that it has actually relatively low traffic conference centers. People come to, stay for a number of days, and leave. Weddings, festivals, things that be one-day events are not allowed in the special use permit. So this structure, whether it be Monroe or some similar user, is really a conference center, which is a hotel with educational component to it. One of the things we'll do, we've put in the special use permit conditions, is to widen the road approaching the building. We've agreed to do that at our own cost as part of the project. We note that of the traffic that comes in, about 50% of those folks come in on a shuttle bus. And I have a breakdown here that I'll quickly go over, and we can come back to this if the board wishes. Basically, we calculate the trips per day, the bottom there, being about 58. This is updated from what was in the original narrative based on new information we had. Added trips from this project is 58 trips of 2 days a week. So if you look at the bottom left corner there, the average over a week is 216 trips in a week, which is about 31 trips over the course of a 7-day period. So some days it's only employees coming in and out. That's 20 trips in, 20 trips out to this new facility. The other folks come, stay for a week, and leave, so there's very little traffic. 31 trips would be, if you look by the trip generation standards, would be about 3 single-family houses. So the numbers suggest that the traffic impact here is similar to 3 or 4 single-family houses. There were questions about sewer and water. Sewer facilities are managed very close to the health department. They have ample land for a drain field system. That'll be in that field that was the original proposed site of the facility. So that field will remain as a field and become a drain field site for this facility. Water was brought up, and we have Dr. Evans here. We can talk about that if we want to, but I don't want to take too much time now. The short version is all the water use here is non-consumptive. Water comes out of the ground in the well, people use it, and it goes back into the drain field. We are not bottling wine here. We are not feeding cattle. Those are sources that take groundwater and deplete it by using it. Domestic uses are basically recycle the water out of the ground, through a human's capacity, wash your hands, whatever it is, and back into the ground. That recharges the aquifer that way. Will the use, one of the questions is, does the use integrate with the what's allowed by right in one of the SUP conditions? And we believe it does. And by right uses, for example, library, museum, schools, intentional communities are all very similar type uses. This building's a little bit larger, but its net impact of traffic and other things are equivalent, or in fact less than many of those other uses that would be allowed by right. We do have the requirement, most likely, of a fire suppression tank. We note that that'll be screened to minimize its visual impact in the neighborhood. We also note that if there's a fire suppression tank built, that will supply 120,000 gallons of water for fire and rescue services if there is a fire in that neighborhood. So the construction of this fire tank would be a net benefit to the community at large there, providing a source of water. There's a lengthy list of conditions here, and you've seen them all with a modification of the code. Do you want me to go through them individually, or do you all want to come back and ask about these? I'm going to skip ahead to our summary of these. So the critical ones here are the added berm against the parcel 34A31, which we have submitted as a condition to protect the existing tree line and plant a new tree line so that over time that will be screened from that property. This is an exhibit showing the road widening, so you'll see that we will pave and widen the road from Rocky Road up to our site. And so there's lots of details that we can go into with this, but I want to just summarize in the simplest way I can. Monroe has been here for a long time. They have 350 acres of land still. That could be a lot of things. They want to be here long-term in Nelson County. They do need to expand at this size to be successful. You can't, the kind of money they want to spend needs to be done full out. They need to go through this and get the size they need to make the revenue to pay for it. The traffic, because of the nature of the use, and even if it were a different use, another conference center, people show up, stay for a number of days and go. It's not an everyday in and out situation. Monroe is a 29 corridor business. One of the things that the comprehensive plan was focused on is getting more businesses off on 51 and 29. This site, you can see here, right, no matter how you slice it, unless you come from the west, it might take you to 151. But if you're coming from Charlottesville, Lynchburg, or Richmond, which if you're flying in somewhere, you'd be coming in from one of those destinations, you always get on 29. You can see the site is about a 6-minute drive off Route 29. So this takes tourism traffic, creates basically a health and wellness tourism destination on the 29 corridor, which is lacking in that corridor. Last benefits I will touch on here are, so there's a lot of tax revenue generated. We talked about this. This is an interesting statistic in light of the budget you face. So let's say if it's a $340,000, that would be the full assessed value. And then the $200,000 is based on, for transient occupants, is based on the current tax rate. Like it go up, the tax rate went up. That is equal to the tax liability of 200 residences that are worth $300,000. So if you take the tax bill of 200 people in the community, you could zero it out with this, the taxes paid with this use. Further, if you look at the 17% increase proposed, and The difference between what those folks pay now and what they'll pay on the 17% increase, 1,415 houses that are $300,000 houses, normal houses in our community, would not need to pay that increase with this added tax revenue. That is a big chunk and a lot of people positively affected. So as we look forward to a project like this, it's a big investment by a business who's been here a long time, wants to continue to be here and be successful. And they need a scale to be successful. They currently hire about 35 people work there now. They'll hire 10 more estimated with this use. And we have had a long, maybe successful run of tourism in the county based on alcohol and the wineries and things. But the reality is that, is that something we want to sustain long term? People are drinking less. Health and wellness is a thing that's important. This is essentially a health and wellness tourism facility in our county. So it diversifies and I think is a positive for everyone involved. And again, I noted earlier, just the one residence that can see this. So I think you'd be hard pressed to find a use that has such a positive business aspect, income, with such little impact. There is very little traffic. There is no reason to believe there's impacts on water. There are special use permit conditions to address a variety of other traffic impacts. We have the Rocky Road intersection we've agreed to fix, and numerous other things that are done to protect the public and those around, while providing a place that's employment for our county and a place to generate tax revenue that does not come off the backs of those who live here. So I'll stop my presentation there. I have more slides, more information, and I'm happy to get up in the public's going to answer further questions or answer questions now if that suits the board.
What's the feeling of the board? Public hearing?
Thank you.
All right, we are going to start our public hearing of special use permit 250358. Chuck Ketchel? Did I say that right? Yes, excellent.
Yes, I am Chuck Ketchel. I live at 28 Forest Lane in Newland. And I want to say, everybody wants to live in Newland. And why? Because it is an idyllic environment. And why is that? In large measure, in my judgment, it's because of the Monroe Institute. The Monroe Institute has 350 acres, nearly half the size of Newland. And they have shepherded that 350 acres for the past 50 years with almost no building. They've been running on what they built originally. This has left pristine forests, vast open fields. There's a farm where cows graze. There's a lake that Monroe built and a beach there that they built on their property for their participants and programs that they opened and gifted to all of Newland to use. This is the heart of Newland, and although many people who have moved to Newland know nothing about the Monroe Institute and really don't care about it, and why should they? That's not why they came for their homes, but they should know that the beauty and the experience of Newland is largely because of what Monroe has done through the years. Now, people are concerned about the influx of new participants. When somebody comes to a program at Monroe, it's like they're entering a monastery. Participants are literally in bed with headphones doing programs, maybe of Monroe sound science, for 15 hours a day. They get a 2-hour break in the afternoon, and most people are so into themselves, they just want a quiet spot, but some people may take a hike on the road, or they may go down to the lake for a canoe ride. But essentially, these are serious people who have spent a lot of money. It cost nearly $3,000 to come for a week of program at Monroe. These are not drifters, they're not a threat, and I don't think that there'll be a negative impact or greater influx upon the community. Look, I don't work for the Monroe Institute, I live in Newland, but I deeply appreciate what Monroe stands for, what they contribute, frankly, to the world, but what they really contribute to the peace and the calm and the quality of life that people in Newland enjoy, and it's what draws them there. I trust them implicitly that they'll shepherd the next 50 years the way they shepherded the last. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie Muscanti.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Connie Musenti, and I live on Rainbow Ridge Road on the new land. You'll be hearing a lot of concerns regarding the technical matters of the Monroe Institute expansion proposal. I agree with those concerns. That's not what I'm going to talk with you about today. I'm speaking from a more personal perspective. It's that my husband and I will personally be hurt by this project. In 2005, we left our home in an agricultural area due to a special use permit that approved a 60-home development. That approval presently morphed into 2,500 residences. The new land had fit our criteria for relocating from that situation. The huge open fields scattered with round bales of hay and curvy quiet road opening to the gorgeous bucolic views of open farmland, cattle grazing, and a mountain view that was breathtaking. I felt that I had entered the world of Brigadoon. We loved the house we found, and until recently, every time I drove up the road, I never failed to say to myself, Brigadoon. Now driving up the road, all I can think about is a 59,000 square foot expansion. If this happens, our environment will never be the same. It's not just the view. Until now, I would never have had qualms about my grandson or any other children in our community exploring the land, enjoying the pond, walking down to feed the cows and picking the berries. Happily, we have more children here these days. With the number of weekly strangers having the freedom to roam the community while attending the Institute, which they do, how can it feel safe? Managing the weekly 26 attendees will become 90 plus attendees to manage. This is a problem. My dream had been to spend my remaining life here, having visits from family and friends, safely enjoying the beautiful environment. Now we must rethink all of this. There are many of us who feel this way. This proposal is a radical transformation of the properties that we bought in good faith, planning to spend our lives here. But we do have protection. It's this county's comprehensive plan, which recognizes that a special use permit can't be issued if it changes the character of the land. The most important issue here is that this Monroe Institute proposal does not meet the criteria for preserving our land, and setting the precedent by approving this request will affect the entire county. We are relying on you, the governance of the Board of Supervisors, to please apply the special use permit criteria honestly and objectively. I hope and trust you can do that. Thank you for hearing me.
Colin Ramvez.
Hello to all of you, and thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Colin Ramirez. I live at 514 Rainbow Ridge Road, just down the road from the Monroe Institute, and currently that's the only entrance to our neighborhood. This large expanse is incompatible with a good quality of life for me, for many of the reasons others will have mentioned, but I want to make a following additional point. The first point I want to make is ad hoc because I'm a retired physician, and I've heard this referred to the Monroe Institute as a health and wellness destination. And I want to say that as a physician, I'm not aware of any reason to think of it as health and wellness as opposed to a spiritual and metaphysical, which I have nothing opposed to, but it's not clear to me it's a health and wellness destination. At the initial presentation to members of the community, presenting the initial expansion to the Newland members, the director of the Institute said, perhaps in an unguarded way, that she was not invested in whether or not the large expansion of the Monroe facility in fact happened here or elsewhere, and that the Monroe Institute had many other potential sites of operation around the country and the world. Is a very plausible possibility that I think will come to pass if this is approved. If the permit is approved because it is thought that the Monroe Institute is currently a local nonprofit, which, by the way, I think that's debatable. Members of the board are from all over the country, some live overseas. The local aspects of it are fading fast as parts of it have been sold. It's not clear to me how local it is anymore. But if and when they decide, the Monroe Institute decides they need more money for operations elsewhere, they could turn around and sell the newly built center to a hotel or event or residential company of some kind. And such a facility would immediately lawyer up and eliminate any and all restrictions on the kind of operations or events that will be held. That happens all the time. The recent large rave festival in Arrington, the 7 Stars, demonstrated that it's easy to get a complete elimination of even standard noise ordinances if you play the game right. If this goes through, why would anybody in their right mind trust a real estate agent or a promoter of any kind of country housing or quality of life or agricultural living in Nelson County? If this goes through, then zoning in this county means absolutely nothing. Integrity of the local government will mean absolutely nothing. And sooner or later, those things will come around to bite absolutely everybody in the county, regardless of their politics or their mindset, except maybe the very few who hope to profit greatly at everybody else's expense. Please vote this developer's boondoggle down and help keep Nelson rural. Thank you.
Paul, your writing's hard to read. Dvorsnik? Oh, I've read your name before.
Read 3 times.
Hi, my name's Paul Dvorny. I'm at 105 Forest Lane in Newland. And I'm lucky enough to come drive past the Monroe Institute every day. I want to start off by saying I think the mission is fantastic. Okay, I agree with a lot of what they want to do. Okay, my problem is the scale at which we're moving right now. Okay, we're talking about moving to 90 people coming in and out of the neighborhood. All right, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what background check is performed or not performed, as it seems like the case is here, on the 90 people coming into the neighborhood every day, every week. But the problem is, we don't really know anything about these people. I'm lucky enough to work around the neighborhood a lot. I get to see the roads. I get to get my hands into the dirt, stuff like that. It also means I get to talk to a lot of the people that are visiting the Monroe Institute. And I've had great interactions with people. It's been fantastic. Okay, but I've also had interactions with people where they tell me about things like they've got powers. Okay, I've had one guy tell me he can pick a tree, and if it's a thunderstorm out, he can make lightning hit that tree if he wants to. Okay, I've had people talk about psychic, being able to detect cancer, things like that. Very serious things where somebody had said you have cancer, and a friend of mine actually got worried about it. Okay. We are talking about bringing 90 people in around these kids in our neighborhood with no real plan for how to check in on what they're doing. Okay, that scares me. I was a special ed teacher 14 years in public school. If I had been at a school and I had put out some proposal saying we're going to allow 90 people to just kind of randomly be in the area of the school, okay, and this is the reason why, I guarantee you there would have been serious issues. This is a developing neighborhood. We have a lot of new families, a lot of young kids. And as a person, again, I've worked in security in a number of places, okay? I've dealt with crowds of people, okay? 30 people, like the 28 people that they have come visiting right now, that's an easy crowd to deal with. 90 people, is a very, very different beast. Thank you all for your time. I'm gonna get down now.
Thank you. Nancy Dunbar.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Dunbar. I live at 5915 Howardsville Turnpike in Afton. I'm visiting from the north. I've grown up in rural Virginia, lived in rural Rhode Island, and am back now in rural Virginia. And I've been lucky enough to spend most of my life in rural environments. I can tell you that, and I've been coming to the new land for two, maybe almost 3 decades, visiting friends and almost buying a house, but it didn't work out, whatever. I remember distinctly the first time I entered the entrance that Colin spoke of into the new lands. It is breathtaking. This debate that I listened to is about a conference center, not about the activity of the Monroe Institute, about a conference center, a very large, imposing building with all of the things that go with large, imposing buildings. And I would like to encourage the board to think about 2 things in the long term. Because when there's a proposal, you see pictures that it's new, it's exciting, the work of the Monroe Institute gets supported, we get all of that. But over the long term, there are some concerns. If any random company proposed a conference center in this location, would that be the same as what the Monroe Institute has proposed? I don't think so. And you know what? The conference center that the Monroe Institute proposes isn't inherently going to continue. There's no guarantee that it'll be successful. If it's not successful, what happens? Maybe it's abandoned. Maybe it's sold. Those of us who live on the Afton Mountain are familiar with the problem of buildings that are erected to great fanfare, but are difficult to remove. Those possibilities exist, and it's because of the size and scope of the conference center itself. The second thing that I would just ask the Board of Supervisors to think about is the long-term precedent that is set with a vote in favor of this project. This project threatens, I can't disagree more strongly with the statement that this does not alter the character of the area. I think that it surely does, and that it will encourage others who threatened to change the character of other rural areas, including my own. I see the stop sign. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jana Kruder.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jana Kruder. I live at 1174 Roberts Mountain Road. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. Like many of my neighbors, I care deeply about preserving our community and the character of our Rose Quartz Crystal Mountain. I've listened to many concerns that have been raised, and I share a number of them. Logistics are real, construction impacts water, nighttime sky. These are valid concerns, and they deserve to be thoughtfully attended. When I moved here, I'll admit, I didn't realize where I moved to. I didn't know who Bob Monroe was, nor was I aware that the Institute, of the work that the Institute carries for us this day. What I found and fell in love with was a beautiful home and a more incredible community of people. Over time, I have come to value the small everyday interactions, whether it's a walk with a neighbor or talking to somebody who's attending an Institute program out by the lake. I've also come to appreciate that people are coming here to this unique place to have meaningful experiences, and that's a sense of positive energy. From my perspective, The Monroe Institute has been a different type of presence in our community. In my opinion, they've operated in a way that feels measured and intentional. And they've showed that to us by moving their proposed site from the first location to the now location. That first location would have really impacted our precious view. And by doing that, they showed me that they're not thinking like a developer. And that was important. Importantly, the current conditions outlined in the special use permit are meaningful guardrails, and they acknowledge the concerns being raised by the community and create a compliance framework to follow. Because of that, I do believe there is a path forward, and I'm here in support of a win-win. I believe that we can find a win-win that respects the surrounding community and the property owners. More broadly, I want to say that I believe in a principle that property owners should have the ability within reason and within appropriate safeguards to make use of their land. So with that in mind, and with the conditions being discussed, I am supportive of this request. Thank you.
Casey Wilson?
Hello, good evening. Casey Wilson. I'm currently living at 14 Crystal Lane with my husband and 8-month-old baby daughter. And I did not come here intending to speak, so forgive me if I sound a little flustered. I'm here more to listen and to learn. That being said, Janet, can I grab your shoe? There's, just a few thoughts that I want to add to the mix, and I don't have a conclusive decision either way. I just have some thoughts to add and contribute. One, I am a licensed clinical psychologist, and I also work at Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health, which is located up in the Berkshires. I'm a remote worker. It's a near 800-bed facility, for those of you who don't know, that specializes in yoga, wellness, meditation. So I'm very familiar with what it is to be a part of conversations of how to integrate a institution of a massive size. Kripalu is arguably perhaps 10 times the size of the Monroe Institute. And it is located in the rural setting of Berkshires, Massachusetts, for those of you who know the area. Kripalu has done an incredible job of finding ways to make peace in the environment and be very symbiotic with supporting jobs, supporting nonprofits in the area, supporting the landscape, creating trails, protecting a lot of the land that they own. So I've seen it work well, and I've seen it work well at a scale that is far beyond what we're talking about here. So I come with deep compassion and understanding for the fears and reservations, but I also come knowing that these types of projects can work out at times, and they can sometimes work out to the benefit of a much larger community. I will also say, as a licensed clinical psychologist, that there is absolutely a health benefit here. And as I look around at the world that we're living in, we have a lot of sickness, and a lot of it has psychological roots. What the Monroe Institute stands for is working on helping people understand what is the nature of our consciousness. Now, they are asking questions. They're not necessarily saying they have all the answers. I personally want more people asking those questions and studying, wow, there's something that we're not doing right. The world is very sick. I would like there to be more teams of people who are looking at how can we shift and find better solutions to live better together. The last thing that I would like to say is just that I personally, in raising my daughter, really want her to be exposed to a more global community. I am very much a proponent of living locally, but also thinking and acting globally. I think the time has come where there are massive global implications for how we all live. I personally am a fan of having exposure to people from around the world coming. I've lived in India, I've lived in Brazil. I don't find it threatening to have diversity present. Diversity always comes with risk because it's the unknown, and the unknown can be scary. I'm not a fan of blind progress either. Progress can come with costs and consequences that are unintended. That being said, and this is why I don't have a conclusive decision, I would love for this to be an opportunity for us to come together as a community to think about what unity and diversity could look like, what stepping into fear with a little bit more love and hope, but also with sound consideration for all concerns could look like. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig Schwartz.
So my wife, Sheila, in the front row here, we reside at 333 Chapel Hollow Road in Afton. We're both retired professionals. Sheila's professional background is a dietitian, and she ran 15 health centers, wellness centers in Florida. My background is I worked for a Fortune 100 company for 38 years, starting as a research scientist, retired as a business director, running high-tech businesses in semiconductor, chemical business, lithium-ion battery businesses. We have no formal affiliation with Monroe. We're not employees. We're not subcontractors, but what we are is volunteers and major donors to Monroe over the years. And what I want to do is say what we've witnessed. So Sheila and I have attended 25 programs over the last 7 years. And as we built our house in Afton, and we talked about, with various people about Monroe, I heard lots of rumors, lots of misperceptions, and I want to address that by our statement. So we've attended 25 programs, and that is 150 days. 12, 14-hour days. So that's a half a year over the last 7 years where we've observed what happens at Monroe. An average class has 20 participants. So we've observed 500 participants over the last 7 years. Each class, it's a diverse group of individuals. Maybe 20% is from international. We've attended sessions alongside of scientists, artists, business professions, politicians, monks, ministers, pilots, movie stars, doctors, nurses, military personnel, law enforcement officers, and just individuals that are navigating their personal fears, their personal trauma, and the challenges they face in life. Individuals attending Monroe it could be for 1,000 different reasons, but some of the reasons include the fear of death, processing grief from a lost loved one, healing from childhood trauma, managing family dysfunction. And I see my time is running short here. So what I'm going to state is what I have not experienced. Across the 150 days, we have never observed any negative or inappropriate behaviors, violence, the threat of violence, drug or alcohol abuse, use of psychedelics, the teaching of dogma, cult practices.
Sorry.
There's my stop sign. But you get the tone of what I was saying. Thank you very much.
Richard Averett.
Hey, my name is Richard Averett. I live at 88 Grace Glen in Ellisford, Virginia, and I am actually the Central District Planning Commission member, which is why I'm here tonight. I unfortunately missed the meeting where we got the chance to share our thoughts and opinions on this project, and I felt like I owed it to my constituents to make sure that I made that public. And so I want to take just a moment to do that with you all. I did submit those comments. Some of you may have seen them. Got a copy if we need to put them in the record in any way, but I think I'll summarize them like this. Nothing I'm going to say is any judgment whatsoever about the Monroe Institute. My son worked at the Monroe Institute in high school. I have great respect for what they do and for their impact in the community. But as a planning commission member, I understand our job is to look at the use and the location with specificity compared to the rules and to the comp plan. And for me, when I looked at this, I could not find any way to reconcile either criteria A or criteria B of the special use permit, that it won't change the character or established pattern of development, or that it will not adversely affect the use of the neighboring property. It's a 50,000 square foot facility in the middle of a rural residential neighborhood. Maybe more importantly, as we look at the comp plan, as I understand our role of the comp plan, we should think of the comp plan as a promise to one another in the community and to ourselves for the future that we want. And the comp plan is really specific about areas where we do and don't want scaled significant development. And this is not one of them. And when I look at that, if our job is to be stewards of that on the planning commission, and I think as someone said earlier, I don't think for a second that if Marriott Bonvoy or Hilton proposed this specific, exact, precise facility, even this precise use in that location, that I would recommend approving it. And that suggests that I'm looking at the applicant, not the land and the use and the location. And so I would love to see what the Monroe Institute is built in other places in this community and in this county, where we specifically are encouraging that kind of scale development, but I don't think this is it. So I wanted to make sure that was shared. Thank you.
Thank you. Megan Eccles. Megan Eccles. If we could keep clapping to a minimum so we can keep this ball rolling. Also, the next person is Heath Matesic Snyder. You're up.
Hi, I'm Megan Eccles. I live at 286 Forest Lane. I have concerns about the water usage and the consequences that this might have on our wells. My family and many other of our neighbors that I'm aware of have to conserve water due to running low or running out at times. I really just want to make sure that the potential effects to our water supply have been thoroughly studied. I don't think that sufficient research has been done on this. Also, our neighborhood demographic has changed quite significantly over the last 10 years and now includes many young families. I know I speak for most of these families when I say I am concerned about the effect this expansion would have on our feelings of safety for our children. What drew many of us to buy homes in Newlands is that it is a place where we know our neighbors and as a result feel safe giving our kids freedoms that they wouldn't get in most other places. I believe this expansion will take that away from us because of the number of attendees visiting our neighborhood who, as far as I'm aware, will not be vetted. Thank you for listening.
And Stephanie, you'll be after him.
Keith T6 Snyder, 1124 Roberts Mountain Road, Faber, Virginia. Dear members of the Board of Supervisors, thank you all for the good work that you do for Nelson County. My name is Heath. I grew up in Afton, and I currently own a house in the Newland subdivision in Faber, where I live with my wife and our 2 daughters. Don't worry though, I'm not giving the same speech that I gave already this afternoon. I'm still speaking strongly in opposition to the Monroe Institute's expansion proposal. I also genuinely believe that the points I laid out earlier today and via email to each of you illustrate why this proposal goes directly against the Nelson County Comprehensive Plan and why this proposal should be voted down tonight. Here are several additional concerns I have. 1, this proposal will bring the current 30 workshop attendees up to 90. Workshops are often 4 to 5 days long and happen at least every 2 weeks. A primary concern is the potentially detrimental impact of this large-scale commercial expansion as pertaining to the Newland community's water supply. The average daily consumption per person in the US is 60 to 80 gallons per day. This means that the 90 attendees will use approximately 6,300 gallons of water a day when workshops are being conducted. Over a year, this equates to millions of gallons of water. The Monroe Institute's groundwater assessment for this proposal provided inadequate detail, information, and evidence that this large commercial expansion will not have negative effects on residential wells in the Newland community. The Monroe Institute's proposal fails to adequately assess the immediate and extended impact on our community's water supply. 2, currently, the 30 attendees who participate in workshops at the Monroe Institute often walk on Roberts Mountain Road between the current Institute buildings and the Roberts Mountain Retreat at the end of the road. When doing so, they walk past many Newland residents' homes, including mine. If this expansion is approved, that number will increase to 90 people walking past our home who have little to no stake in our community. By and large, the attendees are kind and honorable,
But with the large increase in participants comes a greater potential that some may be less upstanding. There is no way that 90 people will be properly vetted every 2 weeks. We have a quiet, family-friendly neighborhood with many young children in the Newland community. Having 90 new strangers on a bi-weekly basis walking past our homes just doesn't feel good to me as a father of 2 small children. 3, lastly, this building will be huge. At nearly 59,000 square feet, the proposed building is approximately twice the size of the Luddingston Food Line. This is gigantic, and it will be built on a prominent ridgeline, which will ruin view sheds, change the rural character of the community, and is not consistent with existing patterns of development. I sincerely hope you will vote against this proposal tonight. Thank you for your time and consideration.
So after Stephanie is Kim Maimone.
Good evening. Excuse me. Dear members of the Board of Supervisors, thank you for your work and for the opportunity to speak tonight. Stephanie Matisek-Snyder, 1124 Roberts Mountain Road. I'm a property owner in the Newland subdivision in Fauquier. I would like to express my opposition to the Monroe Institute's plan for expansion via special use permit. Over the past several months, you have heard the concerns of many of the Newland community. To my knowledge, the vast majority of emails and public comments so far have been in opposition to this expansion. This should speak volumes to you as a board. These are the citizens you have been elected to represent. From water and well viability to the safety of our children, you have heard an incredibly lengthy list of valid and serious concerns. I have 2 small children, and I want to take a moment to thank my neighbors who have so far come up and spoke to defend their safety. My hope is that you will see and agree that the Institute's plan, as many have pointed out, is in direct conflict with both the comprehensive plan and the criteria used to evaluate special use permits in Nelson County. Earlier today and in last month's meeting, I have identified those conflicts. I won't bring them up again. The time has come for you to cast a vote to support citizens, people who work serving this community just like you and have a fierce love for this place we call home, or a vote to support a large international organizations whose actions may deteriorate our water supply and threaten the safety and beauty of Newland. This is a vote that will forever change the fabric, not only of our neighborhood, but also of Nelson County as a whole. To quote from the mission statement listed on your website, it is the mission of the Board of Supervisors to maintain Nelson County as a beautiful, safe, healthy, and prosperous rural county. Given that mission, I respectfully call on you to demonstrate to your constituents that you have their best interests at heart and vote against this proposal. Thank you.
After Kim will be Justin Maimone.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Mamoni. I live at 1270 Roberts Mountain Road in the Newland Division. I'm here today in regards to the special use permit that Monroe wants. I'm speaking against the proposed expansion for multiple reasons. My major concerns are the sheer scale of the project, the environmental impact, Newland community impact, the safety of our area, and supporting a business that is no longer a local business. This project will forever change the Newland community. It is projected to be a 59,000 square foot building, which is completely out of place in the Newland community and Nelson County as a whole. My family and I moved here to enjoy peace and tranquility of the area, and now we could be looking at a large, out-of-place building in our backyard. Does this open the door for more corporations to build in Nelson County? Will this happen in other areas of the county? I have concerns for the increased traffic and the impacts it will have on our already taxed roads. I'm concerned with the increase in people coming to the area and the effects they will have. It will be taxing on the water that is already a problem in the area. There are numerous families that live in the area, and the safety of our kids are top priority. I want you to remember the comprehensive plan that serves as a blueprint for Nelson County growth that was developed by you all and the public. The project does not fit in line with Nelson County vision. If granted, this expansion will forever change the Newland community and the environment surrounding this beautiful area, and we won't ever be able to get that back. Thank you.
After Justin is Angie Hicks.
Hello, my name is Justin Ramoni. I live at 1270 Roberts Mountain Road. And we moved there as a place to raise our family and a place to feel safe. And you feel that when you walk or drive into there. The Monroe Institute has been very, I thoroughly do enjoy what the Monroe Institute does for humanity, for our health, for our spiritual health, mental health. I have done their programs and I appreciate it. But now we're talking about making a large, near 60,000 square foot structure, conference center, that's going to increase our foot traffic by up to 70 people a week. I had my incident with when I was on the lake and I was canoeing with my kids. I got up to the dock, there was a gun there. And it was one of the participants' guns who was kind enough to say, hey, don't, it's mine, you know, don't touch it. And that was good and all, but the fact that I've been told that shouldn't happen and that they don't allow that, makes me a little nervous because they may not allow it, but it happens. And I have 2 kids that I want to be able to just say, go down to the lake, like, have fun, go fishing. And I don't know if I'm ever going to feel comfortable with that. And now with this huge addition, that's gone. And I love going down there with them, but I want them to be independent. You know, Bob Monroe's initial idea was to have discrete buildings and to have them blend in with the surroundings. And this is doing the exact opposite. This isn't a nice nestled green building against the trees. This is going to be a huge conference. And just saying conference center just sounds so strange for that area. And now it's sowing division among our neighbors. There's people that are, I mean, you can hear it here. I'm a little disappointed and I wish that we could decrease the size of this thing and it wouldn't be such a huge eyesore. I understand wanting to grow the business and I appreciate the business and I want it to grow. Do I want it to grow in our community, in our housing community? Not at this rate. So please, I just ask, make it smaller. This sounds like greed. It doesn't sound like wanting to help. Thank you.
After Angie's Ron Blake.
Hello, everybody. Angie Hicks, 1857 Rocky Road. My husband Nelson and I own the farm, which has been in his family since the 1940s. Our property borders 4 of the 7 parcels mentioned in the application, including the parcel for the proposed conference center. While we appreciate the conditions added to the permit, they do not change the negative impact on traffic safety or that a 58,000 square foot conference center does not fit harmoniously in an area zoned agricultural. As former treasurer for the county, I would be remiss if I didn't speak about taxes and assessments. If this building assesses at $25 million, I believe it would be the highest assessed property in the county, higher than Food Line Shopping Center, Devil's Backbone, Swananoa Mansion, Oak Ridge Mansion. If it does assess at $25 million, does this sound like something that should be placed in an agricultural zone? We, Nelson and I, support big business coming into the county, but if it doesn't fit the existing area, it must be denied. As citizens of this beautiful county, we have to be good stewards of our land for future generations. Thank you all for this time.
After Ron Blake, it's Catherine Versleis.
Hello, good evening. Ron Blake, 86 Rainbow Ridge Road. I served as treasurer for some while of the Homeowners Association, along with, I can't see him now, Chuck, who was the chairman at the time. Chuck initially started talking about the Monroe, all factually correct. But the Monroe today is not the Monroe of 15 years ago. The board now consists of people who, for example, West Coast, New York City, overseas, entrepreneurs are on the board and on the Monroe website. If you've perused it, you will see the examples of their bios. And I'll give you just one that is fairly typical of what makes the business decisions on the Monroe now. Julie B. is a serial global technology entrepreneur and growth strategist. She has designed, built and scaled 17 industry disruptive businesses, including 4 unicorn companies. She serves as CEO of Full Throttle Growth and Capital, where she and her team advise companies and boards on accelerated growth. I've had the pleasure of listening to Justin Shimp give 5 presentations about this now. And while they've been very detailed and comprehensive, not once has there been mention of the quality of life that is impacted by this development. Also, not once has there been mention what the long-term expansion plans are, given the membership of the board that there now is. And so if you open the door for this without constraint on further development, you are giving us all a major problem. Thank you.
Thanks. After Catherine's Bill Maddox.
Is it Kathy response?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, I don't have any notes, and thank you all for allowing us to speak. I have had a business on Adel Road for going on 40 years. Monroe Institute, we've always been very good neighbors. We love their participants, and really over the years, it has been, you know, a great company. I mean, they have given wonderful things to, like scholarships to the high school students at Nelson County High School, and I hope that that continues. I came in and I had not seen any presentation about their development, and I think it was a very good presentation. And like I said, I love the Monroe Institute, but my shock at hearing 90 rooms, larger than the Food Lion, where are they gonna put this? On a hayfield. So I am very worried about that. I'm just worried about, I just think that there might be a better place, and that you all ought to really keep that in mind, because that will change the nature of, I mean, Justin did say that they were gonna widen the roads and this and that, and I think it will affect Adel Road as well, and I think that, I mean, I don't really have any science behind it, but my shock at 90 bedrooms, I mean, we're highly restricted as Acorn Inn. We're not allowed to serve certain things, and, you know, there's just a lot of rules. And I just want to make sure that those rules are abided by. It just seems not in keeping with the comprehensive plan the way it is now. And I have to say, it's concerning. So just please know that we're all concerned about the quantity of people that will be coming. It just seems enormous. I mean, I think it can expand and not be so enormous. And again, a conference center, what happens if they want to move on, and then what? You've got this monstrosity of a building, and in a place where that has never happened before. So, but I'm not at all against international, and I don't think any of these families are. I mean, they all want to be connected to the world, and the world is a different place now, and we all do have to accept that. But yeah, I think that we can also have a little bit of concern for our water and our home life and the rural nature of the way Nelson County is. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. After Bill is Robin Ebelher, maybe?
Good evening. My name is Bill Maddox, and my wife and I recently purchased 456 Roberts Mountain Road, which is one of the properties that abuts the Monroe Institute. I appreciate the comments from my fellow neighbors about their concerns, and I also appreciate what I do know about what Monroe does. Seems like a very good operation, a very good entity and so forth. My concern is the future. It's not necessarily this development, but if Monroe wants to be the good neighbor that they say they are, then I would encourage them to not develop any of the remaining undeveloped land that they own. I have suggested in a memo to you guys that they consider putting a conservation easement on the undeveloped land so that it cannot be developed. So, oops, and thank you.
Good evening. Before I start, I'm sorry about the glasses. I have a visual impairment and they're necessary. My husband Greg and I have been homeowners of a beautiful piece of property on Roberts Mountain Road for the past 25 years. We have so much gratitude and pride in the neighborhood in which we have been raising our 3 children. This is a neighborhood where we actually know our neighbors, gather and spend time together, and support each other through the hardships and joys of life. This has been a difficult decision for me to speak tonight. However, after understanding the impact this expansion will have, it has become a necessary one for our family. I respect the Monroe Institute and honor their intentions. For decades, we have all lived cohesively and harmoniously together. What makes our land so special is that both Monroe guests and landowners are given the privilege and honor to share communal areas within our neighborhood. This is an extremely important factor to consider and understand as to how our unique neighborhood has been designed. This grand expansion and an influx of people will not be in isolation. It is a part of the Monroe program for the participants to explore and soak in the beauty of the new land. The fact is that we share and are integrated into a communal area within our neighborhood. The proposed expansion is a tremendous shift from our current living situation. As of now, the Monroe programs run bi-weekly with approximately 20 participants each session. This has all been a symbiotic and balanced with both the Monroe participants and the landowners utilizing these communal grounds. This has honored all involved. The new proposal of expansion will certainly impact our homeowners. After understanding the size of the expansion, it's clear the proposal is requesting to house up to 90 participants total every other week. This leaves our homeowners in our rural neighborhood with a possibility of 2,340 participants within a year. Bust in and out, traveling into our neighborhood to share our roads and communal grounds. While I appreciate the diversity and love that we get exposure to this and love the goodness that it all brings, there are different things that we have to consider. Not to dismiss the consideration that the Monroe begins to offer weekly seminars. This could be a possibility. These numbers would double. I'm asking you as Nelson residents to think about the magnitude of up to 90 people with a new group coming in every other week entering your neighborhood. It is not logical to even think these figures wouldn't affect our way of life. We are not the kind to resist growth, development, or change in our family, nor do we shy away from diversity. We actually appreciate it. In fact, we acknowledge those in our county who have made wonderful decisions thus far to enrich our county without taking away its beauty and integrity. Our intention was deliberate when we moved to our rural neighborhood, communing with people who have strong values and deep community. We have raised 3 children on the new land. Our eldest daughter...
Sorry, time has expired.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Well, I have a visual disorder, so that I
That's
needed
fair.
somebody to verbally say something.
Thank you.
So much for your time, and I appreciate you all.
Thank you. Yeah, that concludes the list. Is there anyone that would like to speak that has not signed up? Excellent. I'm going to end the public hearing, and we're gonna take a bathroom break. 10 minutes. We'll be back at 8:30.